Hey-o! It is your friends at the Morningwood Radio Podcast, starring your host, Mr. Miyagi-san, a.k.a. Hunter McIntyre. How we doing, boys?
Good, dude. Luke's on the show today, dude. Lumberjack Luke. Yo, I was thinking about our tagline, what gets you up in the morning, Morningwood Radio. Is that good enough, or should we just keep on throwing that around there?
Oh, I never heard that one. All I heard was interesting people having interesting conversations, but I like that first one.
Well, Luke, what are your thoughts here?
Morningwood Radio, I kind of like it. Especially you. I think it fits you. I don't know. I mean, there definitely could be maybe something a little more catchy, but it's not bad at all.
Well, the reason why I picked Morningwood Radio is because I wake up earlier than everybody else I know, and in the morning, I'm a fucking superhero. Like, I can get so much work done, and it's like I've got all of this amazing energy in my mind, clarity, all this shit. And then as soon as 8 a.m. hits, I'm a head case.
Yeah, I'm the same way from like 3:30 to like 8. I'm a superhuman, dude. I can do anything. And I think that's such 8 o'clock hits, it's like the world just shits on me.
Yeah. Like, the biggest part of being a man, for at least me, is waking up in the morning. My main indicator that I'm still a man is that I'm stiff.
Yo, for sure.
If I wake up rock hard.
Every morning.
Yo, check this out. I'll be right back. Give me 30 seconds. I don't want to distract from the show, but you guys get to know each other.
All right. So
how's it going, brother?
Pretty good. All I got from Hunter was my friend is going to be on the show. His name is Lumberjack Luke.
Yes, sir.
Did you meet Hunter when he was on his mountainous time, like learning to be the fastest on the mountain, or how did you meet him?
I met Hunter years ago through obstacle course racing. We ran into each other, and we're both just a little bit high energy, like-minded people, and we just became friends. Hunter's crashed at the house, come by, cook steaks, and we've always been like distant brothers that reconnect every month or so.
Yeah. So, not to get off into this tangent, but I walked away and I want to bring some center to this. So this summer I got this parasite. Many people have probably heard this story too many times. Luke, if you didn't hear this, I picked up a parasite while I was in Europe, and it fucked my life up so badly. It messed me up in a way that you always hear, like, people like, I went down to Mexico, I got mud butt. I had that for like 2 months, and it destroyed me as a person. I lost a ton of muscle mass, like my sleep was crap, everything. I go to get my blood tested, and my testosterone scores were like 30%, if not more, lower than my last testing. And all the scores were off. So they gave me this prescription, this company called California Hormones, like that you can either be prescribed actual hormones, or they're just like, get on the supplement panel, because I can't mess with that stuff. So I'm taking 300 milligrams of magnesium. I told you this, dude, last time.
Yeah,
I'm taking 8 grams of boron and this zinc. I have no attachment affiliated to these people or these products, but I started taking it again, and literally I can't tell if it's just like a placebo effect, but man, I'm getting my wood back. Like I'm good, and I'm sleeping like a fucking titan, and I'm lifting again. I've got this tonal machine, and I lift on the thing, and it records the amount of weight that you're moving, and my weight numbers keep on going up. So I don't know if it's just totally random or if this stuff's really working, but I'm back, dude. I got my mojo back.
I feel like it probably does. Like, after we spoke, I got some blood work done. I remember telling you, we talked about it.
Yeah.
And I got on some different magnesium that we talked about and some other stuff. And, dude, I feel like the same. Like, I went and grabbed a barbell the other day at the gym. Dude, I haven't touched a barbell since the baby was born in June. And I freaking grabbed a barbell and ripped up 435 like it was nothing.
Nice.
And, don't get me wrong, I felt that the next day for sure, not warming up. But
we talking bench press, Luke?
No, deadlift.
Deadlift, okay.
And it was, for not touching a bar, I was like, and how easy it was. I think it goes a long ways. Like, I've been kind of off the vitamin kick lately, like my daily, pack of, the one form or whatever, vitamin packs, first form.
Yeah.
First form.
Yeah.
And I've been more on, I feel like I've been able, for the last 6 months, I wanted to try it and basically see if I can get everything I need in my body with basically better quality food and less crap. Because one thing I wondered is, like, how hard is it for my body to process and how much of these vitamins is my body actually getting versus how much is it, versus how hard it is to process these vitamins.
Yeah.
And so I figured I went to more organ meats. I just eat raw liver and a lot of other stuff. Anything from an animal I kill, I just eat the liver, the heart, kidneys, like all that crap. And then I did the minerals like we talked about. Dude, I felt like a freaking superhuman every morning, dude. I'm rock hard.
So this is the thing I run into with people that I'll like explain. Like, you're making the right choices. You're getting the best in wholest ingredients and the most natural ingredients in your system possible. Like, I have this kind of thing that I'll say to people is like, if you can't put it outside on a table and it won't grow mold on it within a handful of hours, like a handful of days, that's not going to be processed and broken down very easily in your body. Now, that's kind of like the center lane that you want to be in as a human who is taking care of themselves from like a consumption rate, day-to-day living rate, blah, blah, blah. Now, if you're doing above that, you have to understand like the normal consumption of like just regular whole foods, whole meats doesn't always fill the gaps because you're going up in trees for hours a day. You're in the hot sun. You're clearly sweating. And you're just breaking down, dude. So that's when you need to start supplementing. Like, there's no way that you can go on. Like, even I went and did this Ironman. I don't do things that long. I really have my like down to a T how much of my powder that I put in my water every single day to sustain and perform at the levels that I want. When I went out there for that Ironman, dude, I cannot remember her name. Natasha, this girl who's an Ironman coach, she was like, that's not enough sodium. And I was like, well, I don't want to mess around with it now. I'm not ready for it. She's like, all right, just want to tell you. Dude, she was so right. By the end of this Ironman, I was throwing pretzels and potato chips in my mouth and chugging Coca-Cola because I was dying. I had not had enough. So, you know, for the average person, like, you can get away with whole foods, but if you keep on pushing your body to limits, you want to gain muscle mass, you want to do hard endurance races, you're always going to have to find these unnatural ingredients to do unnatural things.
I had a real big learning lesson on that same exact scenario when I did my most recent 50K. It was supposed to be obviously 50K. It turned out to be like 38 miles. Whoever marked that course, I want whatever they smoked. And
pop that dude in the jaw.
Right? Like, dude, come on. I get to 31 miles and I'm like, what the hell? I know I still got like 5 or 6 to go. But I hit a wall at about 20 and started throwing up. And it was a lack of, I've always I had the same issue at 2018 Spartan race. I start my race fasted and my body has to transfer into like a, burning off of, fuel. So from a fasted state to, burning off of fuel that I can put in me. And what I do is I don't drink enough water. So I get to a point where I push it. I don't drink enough water. And the same thing, I had another guy that I was running with, I just met, he was a lot more experienced than me, telling me that I need to drink more water. I need to get sodium in me. And sure enough, dude, mile 20 hit. I'm freaking on the ground, hurling like 4 miles away from the closest aid station and just dying. And I'm like, well, I'm not going to die here. I'm going to at least die walking. So I was like, if I can make it to the aid station, I'll be good. And then within a couple miles, my body stopped being a little pansy and picked back up and we finished hard. But I know something I struggle with on a day-to-day basis with work and everything and trying to work out and stay fit is trying to keep my body tuned up, man. It's hard, like especially with the hormone issues I've had from my past careers of hanging in freaking 1,000-foot towers in front of antennas for days on end. Yeah. Like I ended up having to jump on the TRT bandwagon a few months ago and to try it out. And I'm 34 but dude, I feel a lot better. It's one of the only things that's helped. A little ashamed to jump on the bandwagon, but it is what it is.
You gotta choose this fine line of like whether or not you're going to allow your ego to take a role in it, or if you want to take your lifestyle into play. Like if I ever reach the point where I can't wake up in the morning and pump iron, go for big mountain bike rides, like walk around the backyard and pick up stumps because I'm just getting too old, I'm 100% going to get on testosterone replacement therapy. Now, like there's this gigantic thing going on the internet, which I think was honestly planted, is this Liver King guy just got outed for all of the juice that he's on. I think his PR team honestly planted this so that he could have another level of attention. But that guy clearly was on so many products that he was trying to like super enhance his body. Yeah. If you just want to bring your body back to base level,
like $130,000 for the in a year of what he was taking, like what he was paying for that.
I think that's probably a poor investment. Someone's probably selling him stuff that's too expensive, if I had to guess. But also at the same time, I bet you this dude is probably making well over $1 million a month on like probably several $1 million a month on several products.
Yeah.
So, and he's convinced the whole world that he was, natural. But in reality, what's that?
That's what frustrates me about that whole situation. I'm like, dude, embrace what you are. Like, I have no shame. It's more the shame of like, it's not even shame. It's just like, dude, being this young, but it's like my past career. Like I ended up, when I got my tests done a while back before I got on it, my test level was at 93.
Fuck.
And, which is like, there's just kind of non-existent. And now I'm at like 700-800 and I feel freaking incredible. But that's the thing, dude, with my job, if I want to be able to go to work and climb it, it's imagine someone hanging on a monkey, calisthenics gym for 6 hours. And then I get down, I stretch out, I eat some food, then I head to the gym. And it's like, maybe is it too much? I don't know, but it's just what I do, man. If I don't do it, like people ask me, why do you do this, Luke? I'm like, because it's the only thing that keeps me out of prison. I don't know. Like,
well, dude, the lumberjack lifestyle is as hard as it gets. Like that's probably the hardest thing I've ever done in my life. Like on the day, the Ironman was harder, but that successive training and moving lumber and holding big saws and picking up wood all the time, it just rips you to pieces. And like I'm getting now that I got this cabin up in the woods, I'm getting really invested into getting back to chopping trees down. I'm even contacting the people at Still Lumber Sport and trying to see if I can get involved in local competitions and stuff. Yeah, dude, I'm looking at it. So I was going to ask, like, I think it's awesome. I always lean back. I tell all these people that I was a lumberjack and I was only for 8 months, and you've been a career lumberjack guy. I mean, like, tell me how that started, because the people that I met in your position were the toughest people that I still have met to this day. And like you said, like you can just walk out of the woods into a CrossFit class and bury guys who've been in games level competition. Like, how did you get started in it? What's like the day-to-day life like? Because I love living it through with people.
Man, I've had an insane life. I've basically gotten paid to travel around the country and climb stuff no one else has wanted to climb since I was 16 years old.
Yeah.
And I've climbed 2,000-foot towers. I've hung 1,000-foot radio antenna, like 5,000-pound radio antennas, like 1,000 feet in the air.
How do you even do that? How do you get that up there?
Cables and winch drums, giant equipment. And, cranes. We 50,000-pound buildings on top of other buildings and concrete, like bunkers for equipment. And I've had just climbed Sutro Tower in San Francisco. I've climbed pretty much every tall tower in the United States. I have a guy who wants me to fly around the world aerial cleaning, just for my experience. I don't know if I'm going to do it yet because he doesn't want to fly me and my wife. So
what does that aerial cleaning mean?
Aerial cleaning.
Like, imagine, Denver airport, how it's a tank kind of on the roof.
Yeah.
So that canvas needs to be cleaned once a year. So you have to hang from ropes with pressure washers and clean it. Yeah.
Dude,
so like stuff like that. Brutal. I've just had, when I ended up, I did this years. I worked in my way in the telecom world up until I got a job offer from Verizon. I took the job offer and I was a project manager, and I'd rather blow my brains out than sit in an office. So I left, and I thought climbing trees would be fun, just because I made quite a bit of money in the tower industry. So I didn't need to work so much as I just needed to stay busy. And I always thought I liked climbing trees. I was like, well, I'm going to go learn how to get all my certs and stuff. So I went to work for a local utility company. And they make a long story short, I worked there for a few years. I became a journeyman climber. And, it was kind of funny. I was working on one of their hazard crews, and they told me that, I was like, oh, what's the hazard work? They're like, oh, anything, over this amount of height, whatever it was, like 100 feet, a couple thousand pounds in weight or whatever. I'm like, bitch, you think that's hazard work? I'm like, I'm talking 50,000 pounds at 2,000 feet. That's hazard work. So I've realized in this tree industry, my knowledge and my skills could transfer over really well. And it was a lot easier for me. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I was closer to home. Everything was better about it. And I enjoyed it because I was outside. But I also realized there was a lot of hacks and the insane amount of money in it. So after doing it for a few years, they wanted me to work weekends. And I'm like, no way. And make a long story short, I bounced, and I decided I was going to just do my own thing. Like, I had a chipper that I bought just for fun. And so I started my own tree company. I don't know. I just was like overworking for someone, man. I'd worked my whole life making a bunch of people a lot of money. And I just got to the point where I said,
They charge us $3,500 for one tree here. And it probably, I don't know, maybe 30 inches in diameter.
Exactly. I just gave a quote for one tree. It's going to be $4,800 for me to take the tree down, chip the branches, and stack the logs up on the property.
Do you have a splitter you take with you?
No, I just
give them big chunks.
Yeah, I just take them big chunks. Like, they want them in like 6-foot chunks. So I'll just cut them and grab them with my excavator and stack it up. And, but yeah, no, I just found this. I found this niche, and like, it just kind of, everything pushed me in this direction. And when I started the business, I said, I will not go online. Like, I'm not going to have on Google, Yelp, none of that. I will 100%, if this is meant to be, I'll stay busy 100% word of mouth, because I know so many people. And I started the business, and I've stayed booked out for about 2 years, 3 years, never been less than a month booked out. And every day, man, it's the wildest, crazy thing. It's the most fulfilling, satisfying job I've ever had. Like, I show up, a project I'm currently working on, like the one you're seeing picture or videos of, Hunter, this week. That is 2 big pines. One's about 38 inches. One was smaller. It was like 24. And but they're back leaning over a brand new fence, landscaping, and power lines. So you couldn't just drop them. And, there was a couple other companies that turned it down. And for me, it was just the challenge of it. Like, every day it's a new challenge, and it's 100% on me. Like,
so help me out here for a second. What happens if you totally butcher one of these jobs? Like, what's going to happen to you?
But nothing really. Just my insurance would go up highly.
That's pretty badass, dude.
Yeah, I mean, my business set up right now where technically, I guess, if someone really didn't get enough money for my insurance, they could come after me. But I'm redoing that so that nothing will be liable, because just with what I do, even though I've never had any accidents and I do always high risk jobs, I just know how it is, you know what I mean? And you got to cover your butt. And I have some really good business coaches that's helping me out. A friend of mine who's been like an older brother to me for years, who's filthy rich and super successful. And so we're redoing it into a corporation so that it won't be. But, it's hard, man. There's so many.
Yeah, something bad happens in our business.
Yeah.
Everybody just goes after Ryan.
Yeah.
Exactly. My name's on everything. I'm signing documents.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it is something I think about, man. It's a risk too, especially with having a baby involved with my life now and a family and stuff. It's, I told my wife, I got maybe 5 years left of this and I'm done. Like, I don't see, like, a cat's only got 9 lives, man. And if I could tell you some stories about things that have happened to me, I'm running on the last couple.
Dude, I mean, the lumber business I was in, these guys were in their 40s. Rick was the guy who was my boss. He was in his mid 40s. A lot of guys, like the youngest guy next to me was 29. I was 19. The next youngest guy was 39. They were all in their 40s, dude. Some of them, like the crane operator, dude, told me that he literally had a log come in and just blow his leg out completely. And just like his leg just turned into like, soup.
Yeah.
And like these guys are just still on the job. I was getting paid. You're talking about like grabbing these big grips of money, like bundles of cash. I was getting paid $12 an hour to be a hooker and a knot bumper. And I mean, did you ever run lines, or have you always been like tree limbing?
No, I've worked in the logging industry, dude. That's one of so actually that's what I was doing in late 19, getting ready for High Rocks when the Rona hit. Remember that High Rocks I was going to come do with you in Chicago? When I was jacked and shredded, I was working out once a day at CrossFit or my own version of High Rocks training. And then we were doing 10-hour days in the mountains clearing for a new power line cut. And dude, and I was like new on the crew. So I was like the bitch. And dude, I was one in the best shape of my life I'd ever been. But two, it was the hardest work I'd ever done. Like, what I do now is pretty laid back. I have equipment that does a lot of the hard work. Like, I'm still, like, yesterday, it was pretty funny. I let this new guy climb up in a tree and start chunking it down. Meaning, so what he's going to do is I brought the tree down to about maybe 30 feet left. and he's got to go up and he does snap cuts. And basically this tree is about 30 inches in diameter where he's up the top. And he's basically going to do a cut 90% of the way through. And then he's going to come out on the other side and come just a couple inches below that cut, come back in about 20%. So what you do, then the log's sturdy and it's held there by that little piece of wood left. And then you can climb around the backside and it just snaps and you just push the round off. And man, I've
watched some of these videos online. Does you guys ever get this whiplash or just chucks a dude?
Oh yeah, man. I could send you some crazy videos. Like I have one of me and I'm one of my buddy in a tree where it's just like, boom.
Yeah.
One time I was, not to get off on a tangent, but one time I was on a tower. We were stacking a 380-foot tower. And I was at about 340 feet. We were putting on the last 40-foot section. And the crane was too short for the tower. So we had to disassemble part of the tower. It's a 3-sided lattice tower, like you see those things, microwave dishes and stuff hanging on.
Yep.
We disassembled part of the one side so the crane boom could actually go up into the tower a little bit, just to get us a couple extra feet we needed. Yeah. Make a long story short, how it came down, I was on each leg. And when you stack a tower, you leave the whole thing loose. Like you put the bolts in all hand tight. And then what you call shake it down as you climb down, tighten everything up. Yep. So the tower's loose, like that bee's moving, and you're 300, 400 feet in the air. And this crane sets his tower down, the section down, and the back leg farthest away from the crane was about 1.5 feet off. So the crane operator radios up and he goes, I'm going to drop it and stab a bolt, and then I'm going to pick it right back up super fast. So we all freaking hold on. He drops it. The tower slams. The flange slams together. The guy stuffs the bolt in it. The crane operator pulls it back up to take the tension off the tower, and to look like you took a rope and went, whoop, the whole tower sent a shockwave down. Bunch of bolts go fly off.
I knew it, dude. I was about to say all of that looseness had to have, oh shit.
Yeah, I was like, oh, I'm dead today. This is it. But no, I lived to see another day. It was a wild ride. That was probably the scariest. But yeah, no, it's you get some whiplashes going on, but if you have a good guy on the ground, a good rope guy, you can prevent a lot of unpleasant rides in the tree.
Hey, Luke, I got a question for you. Did you go the traditional route of, like, for the kids that are listening, the traditional route of like have to go to college and then college, get in 4 years of paying tuition and then come out? Because what this sounds like to me is like, not necessarily you wanted to go that way, but you found a way to make yourself very successful without having to go the traditional route. And I think that's what a lot of people are looking for now, that they don't want to take 4 years of college. They don't want to get into all this debt, but they really don't know what else there is out there because they only are like shuffled into this one funnel of like, you have to go this traditional route. But it sounds like what you've done and now created your own business, that there's a lot of different opportunities. And I don't even know about all this stuff that's going on, hanging from canvases and everything that you're describing.
Yeah, no, for sure. I definitely did the complete opposite of what the most people would do. I didn't have a very, like, I would say the best childhood. Mm-hmm. My parents got in a pretty nasty divorce, and I was kind of just drug through the mud until later in life. And then it just wasn't the best. And when I finally started working, I did probably about 6 total years of schooling total of what you would do.
College?
No, kindergarten through high school, everything.
Oh,
like all the years you're supposed to do. If you're supposed to do 12, I probably did maybe 6. I just never was into school. I always felt like it was just complete nonsense, and I didn't need it for anything. I needed to know how to read, write, and do math. And I was always impeccable at math, and I could read.
Telling you don't need to know about like electrons and how different plants, how different plants mate with each other.
So I ended up, no, I didn't. I did that, and I figured this. I knew if I worked harder and I showed up every morning, and I got up and I grinded harder than anybody I knew, I would make it. I didn't know where I'd make it, but I knew I'd make it. And for years, I'd get up and I grinded every day. And when I was working on the ground, I looked at the guys in the tower and I wanted their job. And I was going to outwork everybody until I got their job. When I was on the tower, I wanted the foreman job on the ground. And I was going to outwork everybody until I got that job. I would take his job from him. No offense to him, but I was taking it. He had something that was mine. When I was a foreman, I saw the construction manager position in the office. Well, I wanted that job. That was the next step up. And I just learned that in life, if you're willing to work harder and put out more and take that extra step and wake up early and grind every day, work now, play later. That's what I wake up. I earn my sunrise. I work now. I play later. I don't know when I'll get to play, but I'll find that out later on.
Are you still ripping around big trucks, trophy trucks?
Man, sold that thing. I know right now all my money's went into equipment, dude. I just spent like 200 grand on equipment.
Luke had me build out my first truck, and I took a Tundra and I turned it into a pre-runner Tundra.
That was a cool truck.
That was a cool truck. I've had, literally, this was my road. I had, since that car, I've had that. Then I went Jeep Rubicon. No, I went SRT8 Jeep Rubicon, all built up. SVT Raptor, and now TRX. And that TRX, biggest mistake of my fucking life, dude. But I love that car. Well, dude, I get 7 miles to the gallon. As I got the car.
No. You get a lot of smiles per gallon is what you get with that thing.
I know. Don't get me wrong, man. I'm just literally about to buy another car just because it's not. It's so crazy. I don't regret buying the car at all. It's just as soon as I got the car, gas went from $4 to $7.50 plus. So it doubled.
It's absurd. And that truck is so absurd. Like people, like I have a pretty Ryan. I don't know if Hunter told you, I used to build trucks. I built multiple off-road trucks years. I grew up in the town. You know, the Jeep Rubicon is named after the Rubicon Trail. I grew up in the town that you have to drive through to get to the Rubicon. There's a big sign in the town that says Gateway to the Rubicon. So I grew up on the Rubicon. I've had numerous Jeeps, and I don't think people really understand what that truck Hunter has is. That thing, like, I spent over $100,000 building a Chevy pre-runner.
It's a damn
It was yeah. And then that thing, like, to go out and basically Hunter's truck is a production truck of what I spent $130,000 on in 3 years of my life building. In all honesty, Hunter's truck would probably still outdo it. And that's maddening coming from someone who's loved the off-road world.
So I've had all these different cars, and I live up here in Malibu. We are at 1,800 feet. It is 5.2 miles from the beach to my house, like the PCH to here. And it's 1,800 feet of climbing with a little bit up and down, so maybe just under 2,000. I've done it in STIs, M3s, all these other different cars, and I have a record. I just set the record in the TRX because you end up getting into some like areas with like bumps and stuff that you can't hammer as hard with the M3 because of the clearance, but the STI could. And I still have fucking just set the record, 8 minutes and 42 seconds. And the way that I'm driving is, you know, if there was a cop around, I'd be in jail for several years. But yeah, I'm talking about like I'm going around corners, like half on pavement, half on dirt, going about 40 to 50 miles an hour and catching little banks and going through. It just blows my mind.
That thing's incredible.
Yeah, it is. It is so cool. I bought it because it's the last dinosaur. They're going to shut these things down.
And they
you have a very dinosaur named trucks.
Yeah.
The Raptor, the TRX, everything just sounds like a big old dinosaur.
The Bronco's done now, dude. The Bronco's done. I'm just getting seats for it, and it has to get smog checked.
Does it have a back window, or it's all open all the time?
It does. It does. Okay. I could put the lid back on it, but I never want to put the lid back on. I just ordered a pirate flag to hang up on it.
Dude, what you need to do with that thing, like, I've always wanted to get the 80s Bronco, and I want to do the like ridiculous chrome roll bar with the KC highlighters across the top, like the 10 of them, like the total 80s rig, man. I want it to blare AC/DC.
You're talking about the big circular lights?
Hell yeah. And I want, you remember
like they had in Varsity Blues?
Exactly. That's what I want to see.
Dude, I'm doing it all, man. I've been setting it up, man. It took a while to get them to do some work on it. Took way too long to actually get some work done on it, but
who do you have work on it down there?
There's just like a local Crestline shop, and they're just like the kind of guys that are really cool about it. Every time I go in, I'm like, could you just do this? They're like, yeah, but they take their sweet time because they're tinkering with like 15 different trucks at the same time. So all in, it's really not going to be that expensive. It's just time consuming.
Yeah.
So I wanted to see if you could help settle some things because now I'm going through all this. Are you a Husky or a Still guy?
Still, for sure. 100%.
What size bar do you run?
I got a 25 on an old 044 saw that's like 28 years old that I use the shit out of every day still. And then I got a 500i with a little baby 28-inch bar on it for chunking down my oak trees.
Yeah.
And I got a 462 with a 32-inch light bar. That saw is sick. It's all hopped up. It's a pretty sick saw. And then I got a 661 with a 42 on it that I don't really use that often.
Yeah, and that's what you take down the big ones with?
Yeah, it's kind of like used probably like once a month, maybe.
I have no idea what these numbers mean. I was
so
gonna
like
say
the size of the engine,
6-inch bar.
R is the blade.
Okay.
Size of the engine's the other one. I should let you speak.
Well,
You're much better than I am at this.
Yeah, basically, like they're all like you want to get it. Like the saw is a 462. They're like a 70 cc. So you're running like a little 85 two-stroke motor, a little bit smaller than what you see a little dirt bike. Obviously, a little compact, but yeah, the new saws, like I got some fuel injected. The 500 is basically the same saw as a 462, but just they run 36-inch bars, which the bar is, the
that used to be mine.
Thing goes around.
Yeah,
and yeah, they're running 36-inch bars on 500s, which I think is kind of crazy. I run 28 on mine, and usually I'd run a 32, but no, I'm a diehard still guy. I love West Coast saws. All of my saws are hopped up with West Coast saw parts. They're Bark Box. They're a freaking killer company. And yeah, I'm a diehard still guy. I used to be Husky through and through, and I had all Huskies. And honestly, over the last about 5 years, I just feel their quality's kind of dropped. And now I just call them boat anchors.
Bitches. So I got a Husky for shoot. What is it? Easter last year as a gift, and I've just been fucking shit up left, right, and center. I'm only running, I think, a 24-inch bar, and now I'm starting to look at all these lumberjack competitions. Like my main focus is paddling, but what I do like throughout the day, just because I got terrible ADD, is I just go into the woods for like 15 to 20 minutes, and I'll just start fucking up trees. Like, and I talked to the electric company, and they gave me all this lumber. I've got like 30,000 pounds of lumber in the front yard. So I'm like, first I started just splitting it. And now I was like, wait a second, I have an opportunity here. Like I want to get into the competitive stuff. So I even contacted a couple of these guys, and they gave me the fixings, because you have to weld up these things and pin the logs in, and then you can start chopping at them. So I'm really learning all the techniques. Like, have you ever been interested in doing anything like that? I feel like that's right up your alley, dude. Like you're a fucking hoss, and you probably know your way around saws and axes better than most people.
I did. I thought about that. That looks like a lot of fun. I saw all the way up until I saw one of the competitions of them climbing. Yeah, and that guy's nuts had to have been the size of freaking bowling balls, bro. Like, I'll have to send it to you, Hunter. This guy goes up and down a 60-foot stick in the ground faster than you can say, what the happened?
Yeah.
Like,
I've seen it, dude. They're like, go, and then they just jump.
Dude, yeah. But I think the sawing aspect and the freaking the axe work, dude, that would be money. I think we should what I'll have to do is like, I could build, like, because I have my own welders and stuff. I'd have to see about building some of those the ones you stand on so you can, is that what you're talking about? The log you can stand on? Yeah, I'm going to show
you right now. The guy texted me.
You know what you should do with all that lumber, though? You should get yourself a good still, like 500 or 661 and Alaskan mill and slab it out.
Dude, I want to slab. I want to start getting better at slabs. But dude, here's the thing, man. Like, you got to understand, these things are ranging 30 to 40 inches in diameter. White pine, 1,000+ pound things. I can't pick them the fuck up. So how am I going to get it onto something and slab it?
Like, what needs to happen is I need to come down there and we just bring an excavator, and we'd have to do it that way.
Hey, dude, for those not in the inn, what does slab it mean?
So slab it means like you lumber. You can, you have a mill that mills lumber.
Yeah. Are you talking about like if it's a hot dog, you're taking it from the top and like
exactly?
Yeah. Okay.
Hot
dog.
Like pickle slices, kind of long pickle slices. Okay. Exactly.
I've seen those. And then they like pour in, I don't know what the material is, but resin. Yeah, and then makes it like a really cool coffee table or something.
You know the table that I have. You know the table I have in front, that wooden table.
Yeah.
So there's these crackheads up near in Crestline, and like they just like acquire junk all the time. They're not crackheads. They're on something. Because when you go and
Remind
talk
me
to
to
them,
tell you about the crackhead on my road.
they're going weird. This is one of my favorite stories, and I'll try to be brief about it. But they've got this junkyard, and I saw this huge slab of wood. You know, it was regular wood on one side, cut perfectly and milled out on the other side. So now I keep on driving by, and I was like, dude, no one's touched this thing in weeks. I was like, it's kind of like common policy out there. If you leave something on your front stoop, like people can just take it.
Yeah.
And eventually, like one day, like I went up and I was like, I don't feel comfortable just taking this. So I go knock on the door. And so these guys just start bartering with me like all crazy. And it's very like mixed and cryptic. But eventually I got
what
this
are the guys'
thing.
names? You got to get into the guys'
Dude,
names.
oh God, it just gets so like crazy. And I was like, hey man, I was like, whose piece of wood out there? He's like, what wood? And I was like, you know, the gigantic piece of wood in your front yard? He's like, I don't know what you're talking about. I was like, it's a big piece of wood. He goes, oh, that one. Just impossible to miss it. It's so fucking massive. That's Brian's. And I was like, where's Brian? So he starts walking me. And it's like, it's just like tunnels. Like, you know, the movie The Mummy?
Yeah.
Like they live in an area like that of just like hoarding crack dungeons of like going through tunnels and stuff. And I go and I bump into another group of people.
That's like the trailer park I grew up in.
Oh, dude, it's so gnarly. And they're like, "Where's Brian?" And I was like, "I don't know. Like, why are you looking for Brian?" I was like, "I want that piece of wood." And they're like, "What wood?" And I was like, "How are we here again?" Now we get to another room, and then eventually we keep on going around. They're like, "Brian's not here," so I'm just standing there, and I've spent 15 minutes talking to people about nothingness, and eventually, like, this one girl comes in. She's just like, "Brian's not here. Like, just take it." And so I go up there and I was like, okay. And then all of a sudden out of nowhere, this other guy pops up and his name's Frog. And he's got tattoos on his necks and hands and stuff. And he's like, yeah. He talks like that. And he's like, I'll take it to you, but I'm going to charge you $40. And I was like, okay. So we start strapping it up in the car. We get going, ready to go. We are literally about to pull out. Next thing you know, guess who pulls up? Brian. Now Brian's here. Brian starts like talking to us. He's listening, man. He's like, that's a really nice piece of wood. He's like, I can't give it to you for 40. And I was like, what do you want? 100? He goes, deal. So now we like get going and we leave, and I give him $100 and we leave, and they don't follow us. So we go back and we're like, hey, you going to go? He's like, all right, fine, we'll go. So now we've had to coax these people and follow us all the way to the house. I think they're going to hustle me again when we get there. They're going to charge me another fee to take it out of the truck. They're like, yeah, you paid us to bring it here, but what are you going to pay us to take it out of the truck now? Like it just got to be such a mess. But long story short, I finally got this slab of wood, and then I literally just put it up on top of two stumps and in the flat side down, and then I just took it and I just even keeled it and eyed it across and then polished it down. I did a pretty decent job.
It's very flat and level.
It's good. I mean, listen,
I had to find some pieces of paper underneath so my table wouldn't keep rocking. But other than that, it's a very level. Like
I got a funny story. Awesome. I'll make it quick about crackheads.
Sure.
I live in like I said, I've worked to a point where I bought a house in a community that I shouldn't have to deal with crackheads, right? Like the house across the street from me sold for like 3.8. Like my house is older and smaller, so it ain't like that, but it's a nicer community.
Yeah.
And I walk every morning, I take Arrow on a walk every morning about 4:30. My dog, I have a Belgian Malinois. So I take him on a walk for about a mile and a half just to drink our coffee, get her going. And the other morning, you're supposed to do like 15, 20 miles an hour on my road. The other morning, I'm up at the top of my road and I hear some freaking clapped out truck comes like tires burning up the road. And I'm like, what? And I'm like, oh no. And so I get Arrow and I call him over here and I take my coffee cup. And the truck's coming up, and it's flying. It's probably doing 55, 60. And I just huck my coffee cup right at the window, and it breaks the front window. And I run over, and it's this old gacked out tweaker, like just smoked a good bowl of meth, gacked out of their gourd, and he's like slobbering, and he's like crying. And he's like, and I'm looking at him like, what are you doing? He's like, I don't know. So I slap him, and he's like, what? And he's like, what? And I'm like, hey, bro, you can't drive like that on this road. I was like, if I ever see you on this road again, I'm going to pull you out of this truck. You understand me? And he goes, yeah. And I go, what'd I say? And he starts gacking out again. So I have to give him a little again to get his attention. Finally gets his attention. He repeats what I said to him. He says, I'm not welcome down this road. Make a long story short, he was squatting on some property. So all in all, me flipping out on him was a good thing because it got him out of the community. But yeah, it was pretty funny, dude. I just slapped the shit out of the tweaker first thing on a Sunday morning. And my neighbors, they text me. They're like, hey, man, thanks for taking care of him. Why didn't you hold him for us to deal with him too? I said, bro, I couldn't deal with the dead tweaker. I had to go to church.
Wow.
You know,
dude, I did that.
But yeah.
When I was training for Murph in the heat of COVID, something similar happened to this. This one guy kept on picking up a girl at the next to our house was a rehab house, and he'd pick up this girl, and he had a souped up truck that just had like really loud exhaust. And one day he was doing the same thing, kept on doing it over and over. And I just got in front of his car. I never got my hands on him. That's more ballsy than I was. And I was like, dude, don't you ever fucking drive down this neighborhood ever again, or I'll fuck you up. Because we had kids running across the street. At that point, it was just COVID. Like, it was just like the world had stopped and like it was paradise. But man, that's awesome. You got hands up on him.
Oh, yeah. Well, too, like to give a backstory, like I watched a tweaker hit and kill a kid, me and my brother, when we were a kid. And then a tweaker hit me while I was riding a horse one time. So when I was a kid. So like, yeah, I just don't have patience. And as soon as he stopped, like when I threw the coffee cup and he stopped and I shined my light and I saw what it was, oh, dude, it was just like a switch flipped. And I was like, oh, I'm done. I'm going to slap the shit out of this guy. Yeah. And yeah, thank God we don't have to deal with him anymore, though. He's gone.
We got people like that out by where we're at. I had to get really
just walk along the side of the road, just kind of
like zombies.
Yeah.
Like zombies. They're always just trekking around. Because my house is at the farthest corner of town that you can possibly be. So I don't know what they're doing out there. It's just
like coyotes, man. They just kind of mill around, you know, and mess with shit that they shouldn't be messing with. Like that's what I've always likened tweakers to. And like crackheads too, they're not coyotes. Like you just see them, they're like, "What the hell is a coyote doing right here, right now? Like, get out of here!" You know. And they're always getting into trash and shit.
What are the laws with getting handsy with a tweaker? Like, if the cops come, like, are you in trouble?
Citizens arrest. It's citizens arrest.
You know, I thought about that after, and I go, you know, and Allie asked me, and I go, you know what? If a cop, the person had no idea where I lived, right? It was 4:30 in the morning, and I'm a mile from my house, and second of all, though, I go, you know what? If a cop wants to come down to my road and ask me if I slap the shit out of a tweaker for doing 60 miles an hour up my road, arrest me. I don't care. Whatever.
That's the way the world's going right now. I have such a problem with this where literally here in Malibu, and it doesn't matter that we live here in Malibu, but it's such a stark contrast. There are people driving around in $500,000 plus cars all the time. And then if you had like a 0.081 on your breath, like you're going to jail. Or if you're walking down the street, crossing the PCH to go to the beach with a beer can, you're gonna be ticketed and potentially go to jail. There are fucking wasted ass like people, just beer cans strewn all around them at the corner of bus stops here in Malibu. Cops won't touch them. Cops won't touch them at all. So the thing is, to me, is like they'll go after somebody like you. You have a business, you have a family, you can pay your fines, and you can pay the government for being a bad person. These people are like, fuck it. You know,
I know it's hard, man. It's like I feel like I know, like I always want to support the boys in blue for sure, but lately it's gotten almost harder. You know, it's like I support you, but just stay away from me. You know what I mean?
Yeah, like, we had our friend Dylan on here who was a cop. I completely am all about that shit. I'm like, you gotta, you know, obviously you guys are supposed to be the people who are kind of keeping an eye on everybody, but keep your eyes off me, bitch.
Yeah, that's basically. I have a lot of buddies. I spent a week in the mountain or 2 weeks in the mountains hunting in Idaho with a cop. You know, and I just talked mad shit to him this whole time. I'd smoke weed in front of him and be like, "What, do you want to arrest me?" You know, he's a good friend of mine. I love cops to death. It's just, you know, I think though it's tough, man. I feel bad for cops a lot because I can tell you what, if I was a cop at 24, 25 years old and I was in these riots, and I'm not happy to say this, but you're going to see some heads getting bounced around. Like this is, I'm young, dumb, I'm full of cum. If I'm 25 and I'm a cop and I got a badge and a gun, that's just the way it is, man. And a lot of the stuff, I don't know, man. I try to come from an understanding perspective for them to support them and just say, I support you guys. I understand that sometimes maybe you got to get a little handsy. Now, do I think sometimes it gets carried away? Yeah. But I'm just saying, like, I definitely support them, but it's sad lately. I felt more so like, yeah, just kind of like, I'm good. I don't need you. I support you, but just kind of my own problems myself, you know?
Yeah. Dude, when I was younger, I wanted to get into special forces. And I was signing up for special forces when I was 19 years old. If they had given me, like, it let me in and given me a gun, I cannot imagine what I would have done with my level of maturity at that point with these huge violent weapons. Like now being in my 30s, like I can't imagine taking the same actions that I would have taken back then. I would have like thought about every time I pulled the trigger. I would have thought about every time I had done almost anything with so much more depth because of my value
you just
for
gotta
life.
be honest with yourself and admit that if you're a young guy and you want to get into that line of work, like you're probably going to make some stupid choices. Like, I'll just be honest. Like, I know I would have, like,
yeah,
I wouldn't have thought everything through. So yeah, no, I definitely know the feeling. It's sad to see what, I have buddies that are cops and they talk about, their hands are so tied too now. They can't even do anything. And you know what I mean? If they do take a bum out of Starbucks, like, or whatever it is, they're going to, lose their job. And man, I definitely, my hat's off to someone who wants to be a cop. I just like to tell them, if you're going to have your eyes on everyone else, keep them on yourself too. You know what I mean? And look at everyone. Like, don't just, there's a lot of stuff on in this country that's just sad the way they're handling things. Like,
Dylan,
have you heard about Cain Velasquez, the UFC fighter?
dude, I love that story. That's such fucking, that is what true law is, dude. You should be able to take, some dude molested his daughter and he basically just went after the dude with a gun. And just
the guy who molested his daughter got out on bail and they held Cain and didn't give him bail for what, like a year or something, or 6-8 months? Like, just absurd.
Yeah.
Well, Dylan was saying he was in a fight or a gunfight, and an hour later, or maybe a day later, the guy was back on the street.
Yeah,
he was just attempting to take Dylan's life. He's like fired back at him.
It's crazy. I know, man.
That's why you just got to by accident drop your police cam and be like,
yeah, right.
Take matters into your own hands. Jason Bourne, dude.
You know what? Speaking of guns and stuff in this country, in this this society nowadays, what's wild is like me growing up. So I grew up always hunting for my food and stuff. Each year we'd kill a couple deer and a bear, and that'd be like our meat for the year where I grew up. And so naturally, like I've grown up, I've been hunting things and shooting things and eating them since I was a little kid. And I was always looked at for being into guns and hunting like I was crazy. I was always this freaking wacko dude. Something that's changed in the last couple years, I think, with the Rona is now I have like an insane amount of people that ask me about guns and want to know more, want to know about hunting and want to know what it's like to be able to get your own food. And to see that turn around in the country, as I think, as much as I want to be a salty old man and be like, hey, y'all fuck off, get out of my hunting spots, I still think it's really cool to see how many people that have opened their eyes to the fact that guns are tools. And, you should just know how to use a tool, and you should have tools and you should know how to use them. And then the fact of hunting and how much eyes have been brought to that and procuring your own food and stuff is, it's been crazy to see the turn of events. Just speaking of like, what's going on in the country and guns, that's something I've been thinking about lately to see. Now it seems like people look at me like they want to get to know and ask me all these questions about these crazy hunting or these gun stories I have. And, it's like, it's crazy to go from being the crazy dude to the cool dude all in, you know what I mean?
Dude, ever since COVID hit and especially after 2018, when the fire happened here and they implemented martial law, I was just like, dude, you better learn how to depend on yourself a little bit more than society. We were not allowed to get groceries. We had no electricity. We had no access to food. And now all I want to do is live out further in Crestline. I chop my own wood. I trap rats and I eat them. And I got to get better with a rifle and be able to get some of these deer out. How big are the deer out where you're at right now? Or do you even have elk?
No, deer is so hard. And don't beat yourself up.
Luke, where are you living?
In California, man. Like, I live in Northern California, up by just in between Sacramento and Tahoe, by like Folsom Lake.
Okay.
I live right on Folsom Lake. There's a big lake right in between, and the foothills between Sacramento and Tahoe. And it's hard, man. Deer, I think the success rate for archery and deer is a 5% success rate in 5 years. So 5 years, basically you have a 1% a year to get one, I think it is. Like, hunting deer in California is one of the hardest hunts you can basically do on public land. Like, especially with a bow. With a rifle, it's still, I think it's only a 10% success rate per year with a rifle.
I get these fuckers. I see them all the time when I'm running.
That's the problem.
Are these people that bad of a shot, or they're just so few and far between?
It's not so much that it's few and far between. There's a lot of aspects that play into it, but it's more so that these deer are nocturnal, and the season in California has been shortened over the years. So they used to be, back when I was a kid, you could hunt into the first part of November, which is the rut, which that means the deer are up and moving around during the daytime and you can see them. What happened is, just because of California laws, the season's gotten shortened, and now it sets off a week before the rut happens. And so it's just, they're pretty much nocturnal, or they live in such thick cover that getting a shot at them is just virtually impossible. So like, if you meet someone who's always successful in California with a deer, it says quite a bit. Like, especially from hunting public land, if they're not shooting deer off of someone's property. Because, yeah, don't get me wrong, dude, I have giants, like probably 24-inch wide, 30-inch wide bucks that come into my yard and my property. But, like, I don't know, man. I just can't. Shooting one off of my back deck doesn't really make my willy hard. You know what I mean?
Dude, I told this story a couple days ago.
That makes my willy hard.
I told this story a couple days ago. My mom had this garden when we were growing up in the back of the house, and beautiful garden. My mom put a lot of work into it. And we had this patio in the back that was all glass sliding doors. I wake up on the couch in the morning and I open my eyes, and it's like kind of like that dim light, and I see this huge buck just standing maybe about 20 feet in the from the back door. So I see this hammer. I grab it off the ground. I slide the door slowly open. And I look at this bastard and I just go, boom, right in the side. And he just turns and looks at me and walks away so nonchalantly. He's like, I'll be back here tomorrow, bitch.
I got a better one for you.
I didn't move at all.
I was a kid. I was probably 11. And I had this goat because I used to do rodeo. And so I'd practice roping my goat. Right. So I had this goat that I trained to run in circles, and I practiced roping it. And I was at like probably 11 o'clock at night. I hear a noise, and I go, what the hell? All of a sudden I look down, and this giant bear jumps over the fence and just grabs my freaking poor little goat Francis by the neck, starts dragging Francis down the hill. And I'm like, oh, you motherfucker. So I grab a shotgun and I start running down there in my chonies. My dad gave me the shotgun, and my dad told me it had buckshot in it. So I'm like, oh yeah, I'm going to go kill this bear. No, my dad, I don't know, he's probably tried to kill me who knows how many times. This was definitely a time he tried to kill me. So I run down this hill with the shotgun in the middle of the night. I make it about 100 yards down, shine a flashlight. The bear's probably 15 yards in front of me with the goat in his mouth. And I'm like, what the fuck? So I shoot the bear. He drops the goat, looks at me. I shoot him right in the face. And like, dude, you want to talk about time stopped. And I'm sitting there and I'm like, he's just looking at me, like just pissed off. And I'm like, oh, fuck. And also he grabs the bear, looks at me for it was probably only a couple seconds, but I shot the bear. He steps back, looks at me, growls, grabs my goat, and just walks off nonchalantly. And I'm like, I look down, I freaking look down at the shell that I'd, ejected, and it's bird shot, dude. I just peppered him. I just pissed him off. It was the worst thing.
Is it a brown or a black bear?
Black.
Fuck.
Yeah. Dude, another bear story real quick. I'm up hunting deer in the mountains. They run cows in the mountains up here where I live. So a lot of times, when you see a big black thing across the valley, you think, oh, there's some cows over there. So I'm hunting with I have my setup, my bow setup is set up for deer. Oh, dude, I got a blade to show you when I'm done.
That's a knife. That's a knife.
Oh, you want to
tell your story?
Okay,
tell your story, and I'll finish mine.
So I'm up there, right? And I'm hiking around the edge of this meadow, and I'm looking for deer, and I have my bow is all set up for deer, which you got to think deer are like 150 pounds, right? So I don't need to shoot super heavy arrow. And I'm hiking around the edge of this meadow, and I look over, and I'm like, oh shit, there's a cow. And then I sit for a second, I'm like, cows, it's like November. I'm like, there ain't no freaking cows up here right now. I look over, like, that's a giant fucking bear. This thing was the biggest black bear I'd ever set eyes on, bigger than any zoo bear I'd ever seen. This thing had to have been 525 to 545, I'd say. Pushing 550 pounds. giant in perfect coloring, jet black with the blonde down his chest, just perfect bear. So I sit there and I'm sitting there watching him. He's right about 60 yards away. He starts coming to me, has no idea I'm there. So my dumbass drops my backpack, which has my handgun on it, my sidearm. I take my bow and I work my way over to these little pine trees. I'm sitting behind these pine trees. He comes into 18 yards from me. I draw back and I was thinking I'm shooting my bow set up for my deer. I'm gonna slide an arrow right through here into his heart because I couldn't. He was kind of angling to me, and bears got really thick shoulders. So right as I let go an arrow, he takes a step forward. The arrow goes bam, hits him in the shoulder, and it sounded like I hit a brick wall. Like the arrow just stopped instantly, and I'm like, oh fuck. And he looks at me. He spins a couple times. He starts to come towards me. He veers off. He stops about 10 yards away from me, turns around, reaches down, bites the arrow in half that's in his shoulder, drops the piece that he broke in half, rips the other piece out of his shoulder with the broadhead in it. I have the arrow. I'll show you guys both pieces. He ripped the thing out, looked at me, growled, and walked up the hill. Dude, and make a long story, and then the next day I went back out after him again, and he tracked me all the way back to camp.
Well, dude, so this is my question. I broke these out, and I was like, we're talking about bears. I've always thought that this is probably my setup here, actually. I need right-hand axe, left-hand stab. Do we have a chance?
No.
With a bear.
I'm thinking maybe I go over this side.
You'd have to be within an arm's distance. And
yeah, of course, that's what I'm talking about. That's what I'm talking about. So if this fucker's on me, I'm probably
really, the
going
best thing to do is keep that big blade close and let that bitch get close to you.
And shiv him here and then head.
I got one thing to show you. Hold on. 2 seconds.
I knew Luke would be a great talk.
You want to talk about blades? Here we go.
I mean, these are the things that I'm thinking about all day.
He kind of looks like Jason Momoa, or what's that? Jason Momoa, whatever. The Aquaman.
Momoa. You want to hear a funny story about that, Ryan?
Absolutely.
Before I show this? I go into the barber and he's asking me what I'm going to do. And I go, man, I just need to trim it up. You know, I don't really like a beard, but I go, I either can be freaking Fabio or Jason Momoa. So I got to stick with the beard.
That's a good, dude. I can't grow a beard that thick, but look at this mustache. She's coming in nice.
Yeah, oh, that's pretty solid. Yeah. All right. So here's a blade. You ready to see this?
This is a knife. Ooh.
Look at this bit.
Damn.
So I had this custom made by a guy in Utah, and it's actually, so it's razor sharp from here all the way around. And what it does, it's like a chopper. So I can chop trees down with it if I want because it's heavy. Yep. Or with it razor sharp, what I'll do is when I kill an animal, I hang them up by the head, and I can, so to split their sternum, since it's sharp right here, I just slide it in, pop it in, then take a rock and just bap, 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 right down the spine or right down the sternum, splits the whole sternum. And then when I'm getting all the guts and stuff out of the inside of the animal, I can just reach in, so I don't get all my hands all mushy and shit. I can just reach in with this and just carve it out in the end. Oh, this thing was the best. The guy ordered the.
Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
No.
I've got this guy. He's my.
Yeah.
What's that? He's my international arms dealer. I bought so many blades off this dude in Pakistan, and we spend about, I don't know, a good 2 to 3 weeks arguing with each other about prices, and then eventually I'll buy something.
Dude, you need to have one made. That's what it's money, dude. I have another set of knives that this guy made.
He custom makes everything for me. He made me this blade. I just sent him a picture of Croc Dundee's knife. He made me this blade and sent it to me.
That's
did everything I want. Like, I'm just like, I want this. And we haggle and we fight forever. Dude, everyone's got to have an arms dealer.
Oh yeah, for sure, man. Yeah, that guy, he builds good knives, but yeah, no, I like good blades. They're good. I've gotten to the point where I just have 3 different knives that I take in the mountains with me that I could survive and pretty much live with. And a guy, OCC or Out of Cash Knives out of Utah actually built all my knives for me. He has we have about 800 layer Damascus Bowie knife that's out in the bag. I could show. You want me to go grab it? It's pretty crazy.
Yeah.
All right, stand by.
That. So this company right here is called RMJ. I won this for winning Go Ruck games, and it's sick. Wow. But how much do you think this thing costs?
I mean, I don't have a price point. Under 1,000. Under 1,000.
Well, yeah,
800.
definitely under. It's under
800.
1,000. It's
800.
525.
Okay.
And like, I'm not trying to say that I don't trust the quality of it. Like, it looks like it's heavy steel and it looks great. 525 for a piece of metal is insane.
But it's the strength of the metal, right? Which
I
distinguishes.
believe so. That's what I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
So I don't really know, man. Like, I don't know enough about making metal, but it's. Listen, here's the thing.
But then
like,
you gotta think about like the artist's work as well, which is
they mass produce these things.
Oh, okay. I thought
So
it was like
they originally engineered it, and now they mass produce them. This one's custom with everything. Ow, it's so sharp. I mean, here's the thing: if I kill a bear while using this, and I save my life, or like fight off a junkie, that's worth the 525.
Yeah.
So that's where I'm thinking the number comes from. That's where it really is. But if you're just a dude buying sharp objects and not going to use them,
Yeah,
maybe not so much.
Well, is that the knife that you go out into the back of Crestline and like hawk at a tree?
No, this one's too
throwing?
nice. Like, this is kind of a prize thing for me, so
Yeah.
I just keep it next to my bed in case somebody breaks in. I have a whole strategy. Like,
Well,
I don't
my
have
big
any
ones.
guns at home, but I just have like a Dick's Sporting Goods knife that I keep at my bedside.
yeah, I have a loud horn, I have bear mace, and then if that doesn't work, then I'm going into the sharp objects.
You need a gun.
We got him a Dirty Harry gun.
I do have a gun.
Yeah.
So here's one. I can't find my big one. I think it's out in the truck. But this is Kevin made this one too for me. Look at this. Look at the metal on this thing.
Damn, dude. What is that called?
It's
Galvanized
dirty.
steel or something?
No, it's Damascus. So it's layered
Damascus.
steel.
Oh,
Like how
sick.
you build a samurai sword.
Oh, yeah. That's sick, dude.
And then look at this handle, dude. It's so
Does
wild.
this guy look like the dude who created the swords from Kill Bill?
Basically, yeah.
I hope so.
This knife's dirty, but it's a pretty. This one was a really cool one that he.
Is that
did.
another
Look
deer
at-
knife?
Yeah, this is just a little skinning knife.
Yeah, that thing's sick.
But yeah, no, man, good weapons are always good to get. You know, I'm not a big. I grew up on a gun range. If I never shot a gun again in my life, I'd be fine with it. I'm not a big gun guy, but I think you should always have a couple tools. You know, you should always have tools to do everything you need. So I think having a shotgun, a hunting rifle, and a handgun, and maybe some sort of semi-automatic. You know, I think that's really all you need.
Luke, do you watch any of those
That's a pretty fucking crazy armory. That's 4 guns. You're like, I don't really believe in guns, but if you had these 4, one of them being ball to action, one of them being short distance violence, and then rapid repeating kills.
Well, I'm not a welder, but I have a TIG welder, a MIG welder, and a stick welder. Because what if I ever need to weld something?
Well, dude, you also use heavy machinery. It makes sense that you got all that kind of stuff.
No, maybe just a gun. Everyone should have a good hunting rifle and probably a good handgun.
If you could pick 3 things that you as a man need to have in your home, what would you say?
Guarantee I don't have any of these. I should probably save up and get some.
As a man, 3 things you need to have in your home.
Mm-hmm.
A gun.
Interesting start.
A map book.
A MacBook? Like a laptop?
No, like map. Like
map.
Oh, MAP.
All shit. You need to know how to read a map.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cartography.
And a Bible.
Okay.
Ah, interesting.
There.
I was going to say a toolbox.
Well, I didn't know if I could go box with that. That was like a one item, I thought.
Okay, well, if we go one item, I'd probably say a crowbar because you could use it as a hammer and like a smasher and all these kind of things.
Yeah.
Or I'd say axe, a good ass flashlight.
Yeah.
Good ass flashlight.
Yeah.
Fuck, this is really hard.
Wait, what about your box of insects?
Oh, dude, my insects box is sick. Dude, you should have seen the bugs that I caught this morning. But no, I'm trying to think. Okay, so you got that. You got that.
I mean, you definitely need. I'm trying to think of. You need to be able to. I think of being resourceful. So what do I need to be resourceful?
Axe.
Like I would say, like I don't need to have all the stuff. Like I don't need to have all the food and all the stuff prepped if something hits the shit. I just need to be stronger and smarter than the people that do have it, so I can get it from them.
axe, flashlight, and a good set of boots. That would be it.
Yeah, axe, flashlight, either some sort of chopper or an axe.
Yeah.
So like this, I pick a chopper so that I had a blade and an axe sort of item, a good flashlight. And yeah, dude, I think good. You know, that's something that bothers me in today's society is the footwear people wear. I feel like every day you should be
talking about Yeezys.
Yeah, just you should be prepared to protect yourself. Like I have this big thing about flip flops. I just don't know if it's. What if I need to protect my wife or kids? You know,
dude,
and what if she hits a fan? I don't know if it's safe to wear flip flops.
I have these combat boots that I wear all the time, and people are like, why are you always wearing combat boots? I'm like, I could literally run a 5 flat mile in combat boots. If I had to kick somebody in the chest, like if I had to like take somebody out, my first move would be sprint at them and then double leg kick into their chest. I would literally explode a chest cavity.
Yeah.
And like also when it comes to just like hard, messy terrain and weather, those boots can't be beaten. I do all my lifting in those boots. Everything, dude. I can power clean 275 in those boots.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah,
no, I'm on a Crispy boot kick lately. Crispy's an Italian company. And I have their boots for climbing and for hunting and like day to day. They're money.
Dude, I just bought a pair of boots that I think are at the house actually. I bought some old Lumberjack boots. Like I actually do the leather high strap boots that come up about like 6 to 8 inches above the ankle bone. Yep. And do you have spikes on the bottom of your shoes or no?
No, I have had them, but no, I don't have any boots that have spikes on them now because I'm not really walking that many trees. You know,
you're the daddy. You stay on the ground, you supervise.
I know.
Dude, no, you gotta get yourself some good spikes.
Pair of chainsaw boots are like Fanner. They're made by Crispy. They basically look like a mountaineering boot, but they're chainsaw proof too. So if I can't cut my foot off.
Really?
Yeah.
Dude, send me a link for that thing, dude. Send me a link.
I will, dude. They're sweet.
We've hit our time allotment here, so I just want to give you a shout out, man. Like I always have such a good time catching up with you. I think you're one of the most interesting people I have in my phone book. And
Luke, where can we follow you? You on the gram?
You follow me on Instagram. It's you probably search Luke Wright and find me, but it's Wildland Tree on Instagram and just Luke Wright on Facebook.
I like it.
I've been calling you Luke Wright for years. It's Luke Wright.
Yeah, it's Wright spelled the wrong way.
God dang it, man! I'm an idiot. Every
time
I say it, I'm like, it's Luke Wright. And everyone's like, who the hell? I'm like,
you know how your name is spelled in my phone? It's MYTIRE, I think, or MCYT. It's dude. I got your name all messed up.
Makayer. Yeah, I'll take it, dude. It's all good, dude. You know what's crazy?
This has been so much fun.
No, it's been such a good time. I'm glad you're one of my friends that no matter what I call. I don't want to look at people's social media. I just call up Luke. I'm like, Luke, what do you think about this? I'm like, tell me about a big tree. And it's so much better than looking at contacting with getting in contact with somebody and then just checking out their Instagram. So glad to call you a friend, man. Appreciate you coming on, giving all these people such cool insight about your lifestyle. And
quick question: New York, LA? 3, 2.
LA.
Oh, LA.
Yeah.
Ooh, there you go, Brian.
I just have to stay loyal to California.
Yeah, there you go, dude. All right, boys and girls, we got a big show coming up on Monday. We have the release of the House Masterclass. Luke, I'll send you a free one just so you can learn about all the most savage ways to train. We got some really cool stuff coming up, and I want you guys to end the year off right. So first of all, I want to thank everyone for watching the show. Second of all, I want to thank everybody who's been supporting our businesses and kicking some serious ass. And I'll catch up with you guys soon.
Later, folks.
Later on, guys.
Yeah. See ya, honky.